Hello and welcome back to another video of mine. I am Squishalski and this is a Murder in Buckfield, a game built on RPG Maker with, built by SRS I believe. So I am giving this a go and I'm going to continue on from where I was last time. So I'd started getting through as many people as possible, so I'm going to carry on doing that. So I need to go back down where I was before and check out any other houses and everything there. So let's go on down. So yes, so I have been getting into RPG Maker with. This is on Nintendo Switch, and I believe you can get it on Xbox and PlayStation as well. I obviously have Nintendo Switch, so I bought it on that. And yeah, so I thought I'd try out a couple of the games, and I am working on doing my own game, so I have started a script for that, and I have also just started like the first scene, just try and get my head around it a bit more. I did a tutorial for RPG Maker and that seemed to go alright, and I kind of got my head around it a bit, but yeah, I thought I'd give like some of the games a go and share with you guys. A silence hangs between you, heavy and unmoving, a silence that feels both intentional and impenetrable. An air of mystery clings to her as though she exists on the edge of something just beyond understanding. Aha, so she was one that I spoke to last time. Olivia Baker. Okay, so I'm just going to continue on going through, seeing if there is anyone else around. I don't know what's up there. I think that probably just leads you back to the town. Yeah. So what I like about this game is it is like quite old school in that it's like pixelation and stuff, but I think that kind of is kind of cute. And with this particular game, as in A Murder in Buckfield, I actually really like the storyline. So the creator of this game, I think, has a good gist of storyline, and there is also humour as well, which I really like, because humour is always good. Humour is always good. Knock on the door? Why, yes, of course. You knock, but no one answers. Perhaps you should come back later. Oh, excuse me. So I think what I'm going to really need to do is actually get... You knock but no one answers, perhaps you should come back later. I think I'm going to actually need to get the, go to the scene. But I just want to make sure that I've not missed anything, because I think last time I did all this bit afterwards, and I think... I'm just going to view that way, okay, cool. So I just want to make sure that I've got everything that I need to, yeah. The church window is shattered, yet the lack of scattered glass on the ground suggests that the break happened from the outside. All signs suggest that this was recent vandalism and deliberate rather than accidental. You should investigate this further. You found a clue. I found a clue. Okay. Excuse me. Right. stood. You approach the man standing near the damaged window, thinking he is likely to be the pastor of this humble place of worship. He barely acknowledges you at first, his eyes fixed on the jagged hole left by the rock. Detective Squishalski. Good day, sir. Detective Squishalski. He extends a hand to you. Pastor Ron Peters, but please, just call me Ron. You must be one of the detectives here to investigate. His words come out of a hoarse whisper, barely audible, his shoulders tense as he swallows hard, forcing himself to stay composed under a weight that threatens to overwhelm him. Mind if I ask you a few questions about what happened here? Of course. I was just in the middle of cleaning up this mess. He shows you the rock that was hurled through the church office window, its edges still dusted with shattered glass. Excuse me, I've got the yawns now. Ask about who'd throw that rock. Any idea who might have thrown that rock? I take no pleasure in saying it, but I'd bet it's that Paul Richards. Ever since Emily started coming here more frequently, he's had a vendetta against me. This jealous streak, you could say. She needed a place to talk. She needed guidance, but he wouldn't understand that. Ask about Paul's jealous streak. What do you mean by a jealous streak? Well, I don't have to tell you this is a small town, detective. People talk. Like I said, Paul's got a possessive side. He didn't like that Emily came to me for support, for comfort, often because of him. And now, after what happened to her? His voice falters as another lump forms in his throat. He takes a deep breath, eyes glistening, every syllable a battle to keep from breaking down. The vandalism just feels different this time, not like Randy Cooper's statue. You look up from your notepad, your eyes nudging him to elaborate. Randy Cooper. He lives down the end of the street. A few weeks ago, the statue in front of his house showed up missing its head. We still don't know what happened to it. But you suspect Paul? I always did. I can't prove it, of course. I can't prove he threw the rock either. He averts his gaze, almost as if he's ashamed at his inability to offer you a more concrete lead. Don't worry, I'll investigate the missing statue head. He looks at you and you can see something close to awe in his eyes. It's your tendency, right, Squishalski? Ask about. When did this happen? When exactly did this happen? It was early this morning. I'd only just arrived, probably around 4 a.m. I find that the quiet of the early hours offers the most clarity, allowing thoughts to settle and sharpen. I didn't see anyone, but his lips begin to quiver as he replays the memory. And then I heard it, the crash, the sound of glass shattering, echoing through the office. My heart stopped for a second. I didn't know what to think. I called the police right away, but before long they were preoccupied with far graver matters. The timing, detective. What if it was Emily's murderer? I mean, doesn't that strike you as deliberate? You nod mechanically, jotting notes down, leaving his question hanging in the air. Ask about. Did the girl come around a lot? Quite a bit, yes. She came by whenever she needed to talk or just to feel at peace. And yes, sometimes I'd offer her to trim her hair, nothing fancy. You raise an eyebrow, uncertain if you heard the pastor correctly. Did you say trim her hair? I'm no professional, but it's something I do on the side for a little extra cash. For her, it was just to help her out, though I never charged her. Sounds like Emily really trusted you. You watch as the pastor's face tightens with emotion, his hands twisted together, fighting back the wave of sadness, pressing against his resolve. Thank you for your time, Pastor. God bless you. You see tears swelling up in his eyes as he turns to walk away. Shards of glass from the broken window lie scattered across the pastor's office floor. Let's have a look. A small combination safe sits in the corner, locked and secure, with its purpose left to your imagination. Try and open it. Rotate the dial lock. Stop at number. Maybe the combination for the dial lock is written down somewhere. The books are organised neatly, suggesting a well-read, careful collection. Dig around for a safe combination? Yes. You scan through the books, looking for anything that might resemble the sequence of numbers needed to open the lock, hoping the pastor doesn't hear or notice you. Unfortunately, you turn up nothing. A calendar hangs on the wall, carefully marked with events and upcoming appointments. You notice an EJ marked on yesterday's date. Call headquarters? No, not at the moment. Don't need to. You notice shelves full of theological texts stacked and arranged thoughtfully. Dig around for a safe combination? Well, why not? You rummage through the pastor's things, thumbing through books on divinity, sacraments and other theological matters, trying your best not to be seen or heard. You find nothing related to the safe combination. A whiteboard contains phrases of encouragement scrawled across it, waiting for the next lesson. A small dark TV with a built-in VCR rests in the corner. The bookshelf here holds study guides, Bibles and youth devotions. Dig around for a safe combination? What do we think? Hell yeah! You scan through the books tailored for adolescents, quietly praying that the pastor won't catch you snooping. Unfortunately, nothing turns up. A cheerful bunny figure catches your eye, a gentle reminder of innocence in a place filled with serious matters. A small crib, clean and inviting for little ones needing a peaceful nap. It's a fabric rabbit doll with stitched eyes, waiting patiently. There's a slightly worn bear doll here, propped up and looking ready for one more hug from a small visitor. You see a shelf packed with colourful picture books, their frayed covers hinting at many little hands turning the pages. Dig around for a safe combination? Of course. You open up one of the VHS tapes on the shelves. Unfortunately, McG TV Out of Control doesn't hide any secret safe combinations. You place your fingers on the organ's keys. And imagine the sound you ought to make with it. If only you hadn't given up on lessons after just 2 short months as a teenager. A polished wooden pulpit worn down in places from years of sermons. The simple table is adorned in cloth, holding an open Bible and 2 flickering candle stands. The page is turned to the book of Ecosades, I can't say that word, seems to welcome a quiet moment of reflection. To everything there is a reason, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Laptop there. A dated computer hums on the desk, a tool for typing sermons or responding emails. More notebooks full of sticky notes and stack of paper, evidently research related to upcoming sermons. Dig around for the safe combination? You quickly rifle through the pastor's things, hoping he doesn't hear or notice you. Unfortunately, you turn up nothing. A basic printer sits on the desk, functional for printing sermons and announcements as needed. Now, I'm sure... Now, I'm pretty sure... No, not at the moment. I'm trying to remember where it was. Dig around for the safe combination? Yes. Pick up a book called The Present Darkness and becomes momentarily distracted from your search as you begin to read the back cover. Hey, what's this? A scrap piece of paper that says 111143. Okay. 111143. Okay. So, open it. Yes. There we go. Left. Maybe try the other direction. Okay. So let's do left. Left. Left again. Okay, so I want to do left, right. Okay, so. Left, 1 1, right, so I'm going to do right, 1 1, and then I'm going to do left, 4 3. No, let's do right, 4 3. Oh, no, so it's left, 4 3. Okay, so left, right, left, right. Oh my god. Right, open it, yes, yes, so I want left, 1 1, right, 1 1, and then left, 4 3. As you twist the safe's handle and pull the door, a neat stack of paperwork is the first to greet you. Bills, banking statements, routine administrative files. You flip through them, noting the predictable details of the pastor's work. But then something unexpected catches your eye. Beneath the papers, a glossy magazine peeks out. You pull it up and your eyes narrow. Not just one, but multiple issues. Hustler, Playboy, tucked away from plain sight. As you thumb through one, an even stranger finds surfaces. Locks of hair carefully pressed between the pages, light golden strands tied together. You found a clue. Your breath catches, your mind racing, uncomfortably lingering on a question. Could they belong to? No, surely not. Yet the thought lingers, nudging you to consider the unthinkable. Could this be Emily Johnson's hair? You must confront Pastor and Peters. So, do I confront him now? Actually, do you know what? Let's not confront him now. I will come back and I will confront him. I'm going to talk to the other dude first. The other detective, anyway. So... I don't think there's anything else down here, is there? Nope, just her again. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to go on to the right. Let's go all the way down. You should focus your search for clues in the immediate vicinity for now. Perhaps try interviewing townsfolk who you haven't spoken with yet, or find someone who can take you to the crime scene. Okay, so I think I can't go down to the right. And I think we've gone through everyone as much as possible here, so let's have a word with all of the police officers. Okay, so let's have a word with this dude. The officer eyes you up and down with a mix of scepticism and disdain. After a moment he lets out a muffled scoff, shaking his head in disbelief as he mutters, "Unbelievable." Okay, so that's literally all he says to you. Okay. Cool. Right. Anywho, let's have a vending machine. Has a variety of snacks and beverages, but nothing interests you right now. It is unlike the fridge in your department, where good food goes to die and mysteries ferment. Behind this door, officers escape reality, if only for a few stolen moments. You should find another bathroom to do your business. Nice. Oh, he's still... Okay, so let's... Confidential or not, these documents all share one thing: they're desperately seeking a shredder. To your astonishment, the laptop on the reception desk appears to be running Windows 95, which hasn't even been released to the public yet. You're impressed that such a small forgotten precinct has gotten its hands on this cutting-edge technology, a promising glimpse into the future of police work. Above the trash can hangs a showcase of nature's oddities. These beetles, you muse, serve a reminder that some things are better dead than alive. A sturdy door guards the evidence room. The chief's laptop sits ancient and slow, burdened with too many small-town case files and too few answers. A tattered file cabinet stands sentinel. A dishevelled junk drawer sits on the floor, overflowing with the precinct's neglected odds and ends. Okay, let's talk to this dude. Oh. My eyes! As you approach the man who is clearly the town's police chief, he gives you a hesitant glance. I thought they told me they were sending Clive. You're not Clive. Indeed, I'm Detective Squishalski with the state police. Excuse me. Obviously, I know who you're with. I called you guys, but why didn't they send Clive? My apologies. Frank Lawson. My apologies, Chief Lawson. Clive is with me, but he's still quite ill. I think he's going to hole up over at the Moonview Hotel until sickness passes. I didn't know you and Clive went back. Oh yeah, we worked together over in Portland, patrol unit. That was a decade ago, or so. At least before I got out of that shithole city. Anyway, Detective Squishalski, you are his partner? That's right. He sizes you up with a discerning eye, taking in your youthful enthusiasm. There's a moment of silence as he assesses your demeanour, weighing your potential against the weight of experience etched into his own face. He nods slightly, a blend of scepticism and curiosity flickering behind his steely gaze. We'd better not waste any more time. So, where do you want to begin? Ask about the victim. What can you tell me about the victim? Her name is Emily Johnson. Beautiful young girl. She just graduated from high school last month, in fact. Excuse me. She was very well liked in Buckfield, very popular. She was last seen by her aunt, Carol Mitchell, last night at her aunt's apartment where she was staying. Her aunt says she spoke with Emily just before Carol, the aunt, went to bed. His voice trails off as the chief momentarily appears visibly shaken. I am at a loss for words, to be perfectly honest. In all my years, I've never seen something so precious disregarded aside as if it were nothing more than trash. You refrain from consoling the chief, maintaining a stoic impression, understanding that some wounds run too deep for words. Ask about. Let's go for the investigation. What's the next step in the investigation? The chief straightens up, the weight of the situation clear on his face. Investigation? We have a goddamn crime scene. Officer Lawrence has it secured. You'll want to talk with Officer Ben Vining. He should be around. He will take you there. Otherwise, what can I say? We have a body and not much else. That's why I called you guys. Our department isn't equipped to handle an event of this gravitas. We don't even have a holding cell here. You give a slight nod, acknowledging his frustration. Ask about the crime scene. What can you tell me about the crime scene? Her body was discovered by a jogger passing through multiple stab wounds. It's messy. It seems she was assaulted too. Not something you'd expect in a small town like this. You begin to ask a follow-up question, but the chief cuts you off, anticipating your next question. I'm no expert, but if I had to guess, Emily couldn't have been murdered more than a few hours before the jogger found her this morning. Perhaps sometime last night. Ask about. Do you have any leads? Suspects? Not anything substantial. We're looking at a couple of names, Tommy Harris and Eddie Blake. Both make us uneasy. Probe further into Tommy Harris. What's Tommy's connection to the victim? The chief's expression shifts slightly, the burden of Tommy's reputation evident. Ah, Tommy, our town mechanic, good with cars, but he has a history. Served in Nam. Tough guy, short temper, you know. He's had some pretty nasty outbursts, especially towards Emily's mother, Linda Johnson. They had, or have, a thing. His relationship with Emily was rocky too. Probe further into Thomas's status. Is Tommy being treated as a suspect or a witness? We've questioned him, but there's no solid cause to detain him right now. Still, his whereabouts last night or this morning are unclear. Probe further into Eddie Blake. What do we know about Eddie Blake? Eddie's a drifter who showed up about 2 months ago. He's been hanging around town quite a bit. Some folks think he's a loiterer near the old mall. He stayed at the motel for a while, but hasn't caused any problems, aside from the fact that he could use a bath. Probe further into Eddie's whereabouts. Do we have any idea where Eddie might have gone? He shakes his head slightly. That's the tricky part. We should definitely question him, but he seems to vanish into thin air. If you can find him, he might have something useful to share. You add a task to your list. I can't even say that. Locate Eddie Blake. You turn to leave, satisfied with information you've gained, when at that moment a thought catches your mind. One more thing. Gary Collins at the general store mentioned that Eddie might have mental issues. Chief Lawson looks at you with a hint of annoyance, which catches you off guard. I'm not his doctor, and mental illness isn't a crime. If I knew you wanted a word with everyone who had a loose screw or two in their crown, I'd have dragged my mother down here for you to interrogate her too. Nice. He reads the dissatisfaction in your eyes at his answer and attempts to throw a parting bone. There is one more thing you might want to look into. Your ears perk up like an anxious puppy. Someone threw a rock through the church window last night. Now call me crazy, but the timing is a bit odd on that. Is it connected? I don't know. Might be worth checking it out though. Already on it. The chief looks at you with a smirk as you walk away, though you can't tell if it is one of disgust or secret admiration. You notice a mocking smile spread across the officer's face as you step up and introduce yourself. Oh, looky, looky! Who do we have here? A rookie playing detective. Detective Squishalski. You must be Ben Vining. He shoots you a look of piercing disapproval. That's Officer Vining. I thought the state was sending a hotshot veteran. Chief said he used to work for him back in Portland. My partner, Detective Clive Henderson, is a little under the weather at the moment. Probably just some food poisoning, nothing serious. He should be joining me shortly. Is that you why you didn't arrive until 3 goddamn hours after we called? Too busy stuffing your faces at Greasy Spoons off Route 219. We stopped there for a quick bite, but then we had car trouble and Officer Vining purses his lips, visibly expressing his irritation as he watches you. Sure, no rush, kid. We've just got this poor girl's cold corpse sitting out in the middle of the woods, you know. In the time you're all enjoying a hearty greasy spoon burger, word practically spread through the entire town. Her own mother didn't even hear it from us. You can't help but fidget nervously, a look of shame flickering across your face as his presence overpowers you. Chief Lawson mentioned that she was found by a jogger passing through. Yeah, that jogger knew Emily from high school and is the cousin of the town's biggest gossip queen, Maggie Green. So how long until the press shows up? You're worried about press? Sorry to disappoint, but this isn't the O.J. Simpson case, kid. You stare at him incredulously, confounded by his repeated insistence on calling you kid when you are all but certain he can be no more than a few years your senior. What's your plan? Are you going to stand there and look pretty, or do you actually have something to contribute? Ask about the crime scene. Can you walk me through what you found at the crime scene? It's a damn mess. The girl's been stabbed, multiple wounds, but there's something off about it. The place is quiet now, but I can tell you, it sure wasn't when it happened. You nod, scanning the floor, piecing together the grim picture that Vining has painted. You turn to Officer Vining again. Any idea what might have triggered this kind of violence? Who's to say? People carry grudges, act on impulse, but in a town like this? Vining leans in, eyes ablaze as if transported back to the area where Emily's body was found. His voice drops a little, almost like he's reconsidering just how much to say. She was left in a bad state, kid. Stabbed up pretty good. Blood everywhere. Looked like a damn butcher's shop. It's clear this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. Whoever did it knew what they were doing. Didn't just snap. Both of you stand in silence for a moment. He's processing what he has recently exclaimed. You're preparing yourself for it. Anyway, are you ready to see the crime for yourself? Good question. Not just yet. Ask about any suspects. Do we have any suspects yet? Not exactly. There's Tommy Harris. Guy's got a bit of a reputation, and he's not known for his friendly nature. We questioned him already, but don't have anything on him, except that we can't confirm his alibi. Then there's this drifter, Eddie Blake. He's been around town for a while now. Doesn't seem to stay in one place. Could be up to no good. What's he done to draw suspicion? More what he hasn't done. Can't pin anything on him, but he lurks around like he's got nowhere to be. And then there's Paul Richards, Emily's scumbag ex. Piece of work, that little rat fuck. Plus, the pastor at the church, Ron Peters, reported that someone threw a rock through his church window this morning. We haven't had time to look into it, but I think it has Richard's name written all over it. You raise an eyebrow, sensing that Vining is throwing out names without solid reasons behind them. What about Richards? What do you think of him? Paul's a punk, Emily's former boyfriend, no criminal record, just a wannabe tough guy who can't keep his mouth shut. But I wouldn't put it past him to throw a rock through the window, stir up some trouble. That's the kind of thing he'd do for attention, make people think it's bad news. You nod thoughtfully, considering the possibility, but also feeling like something's missing. Vining's dismissive attitude is clear, though. A murder? Look, kid, that rock through the window, I'm pretty sure that's him. He's the kind to pull cheap shots without thinking things through. But murder? I don't know. I keep going back and forth with myself. Chief Lawson thinks he's too dumb for that. I don't entirely disagree. He is stupid, sure, but harmless? That's where I'm not sure. The dumb ones can be dangerous in their own way, but the chief thinks looking into him further is a waste of time. Honestly, I think it's worth keeping an eye on him at the very least. You thank the officer for the information. So, kid, ready to get moving? You raise your chin in reluctant agreement. Okay, so now we're going to go to the crime scene. God, excuse me. Right, so... some things to discover right here. Something here. By a stroke of luck, you happen to glance down just at the right moment and spot a single brown hair lying not far from Emily's foot in the dirt. You bend down, pick it up. It clearly doesn't belong to Emily. This needs to be bagged for testing. Found a clue. You look down at the dirt and see a set of footprints. You kneel down, carefully examining the pattern. Judging by their size, you estimate the measurement is about 10.5. Likely male, definitely not Emily's. You need to make sure these get casted and preserved, their depth and pattern before they degrade, and also photographed. Perhaps they can lead to a specific brand of shoe. Standing over Emily's body, you feel the weight settle on you from her form lies pale against the damp earth, exposed and vulnerable. This wasn't just a slaughter, it was a violation, an attempt to rob her of her dignity in her last moments. She's so young, barely out of high school, her features still so softened by youth, now frozen in shock and pain. Beneath the dried blood that covers her naked figure, you notice multiple lacerations. Each wound speaks of rage, the marks slicing around her skin like dark red signatures of hatred. You sense a pattern The way each blow seems deliberate, as if her murderer had paused, thinking, taking in the sight of his cruelty before moving to the next stab. You kneel down, surveying the dried blood covered her left ear, torn, jagged and brutal. On the other ear, an earring remains, dark, striking, a gemstone that glints faintly in the light. The torn ear, however, is bare. The earring must have been ripped off during the struggle. You consider how she must have screamed in fear, no one around to hear her crying out in agony, begging for mercy or relief. Emily's hands are slightly curled, as if she tried to shield herself in her final moments, trying to resist, trying to survive. Her hair, now matted, frames her face in a sad, unintentional halo, and you can almost see the spirited girl she once was, laughing and alive. Steadying yourself, you know you can't bring her peace, but you owe her justice. Every bruise, every cut will be catalogued, each a testament of what she endured. Her body holds secrets now, fragments of her last moments that only a patient eye can unravel. As you stand back, you silently promise her that this won't be the last time she's heard. This girl, this life stolen too soon, will not be forgotten. You finish scribbling in your notepad. Oh, I've just... There we go, right. Let's talk to her. Right. Well, look who finally decided to show up. Officer Wallace gives you a sharp once over, her tone more urgent than annoyed. Officer Wallace, Detective Squishalski, State Police, Homicide Division. Right. And where's Detective Henderson? He's around, but currently a bit under the weather. Her eyes trace you up and down, then she jerks her head towards Emily. I was starting to think you'd got lost or something. This isn't exactly a stroll in the park. She gives a quick, hollow, tight-lipped smile before getting to the point. Anyway, let's go over what you have so far. Chief Lawson said that you're currently looking at Tommy Harris and Eddie Blake. Correct. Do you have anything on them? You open your notepad and share the testimony you've gathered thus far. Let's start with this drifter, Eddie Blake. Chief Lawson mentioned Blake's hard to pin down, but he's often seen loitering around the old mall. I spoke to the Collins at the general store, and they're worried about him. Mr. Collins thinks Eddie's mentally unstable, and Mrs. Collins seems to think there's something off about him. You flip through some pages. Ms. Green and Ms. Thomas said pretty much the same thing. A brief sigh escapes her lips as she scans the scene. Looks like you've been busy. Eddie, he's like a ghost in the system, wandering around, but not really fitting any of the usual profiles. You glance down at your notes again. What did you have on Tommy Harris? Have you spoken with him yet? Not yet, as you already know Harris has got a history, his relationship with Mrs. Johnson and Emily. Whatever's going on with him, we're going to need to get every scrap of info. And Mrs. Collins mentioned his reputation in town, a short fuse, a history that's followed him, not exactly a man who stays out of trouble. Officer Wallace listens intently, nodding along, but seemingly unmoved by the testimony you've gathered. On that note, Miss Green also hinted that he has had his fair share of run-ins with the law, more than a few, if we're honest. Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Tommy's not just trouble for the rest of town, he's a nightmare for Linda. Did you know he put her in hospital once, cracked 2 of her ribs, but every time we try and get her to press charges, she clams up, says it was an accident, or won't give a statement at all. It's like she's convinced herself that she can handle him. Still, every time they fight, I'm just waiting for the call, wondering if this time he finally goes too far. You make note, looking back at Officer Wallace. Jim O'Malley thinks I should be focusing on him or Paul Richards' kid, Emily's old boyfriend. When it comes to Tommy, I can't disagree with James. It's not a bad hunch. In any case, it sounds like he's a time bomb waiting to go off. She tilts her head, signalling her agreement. Jim also said that Harris came into the bar a couple of nights ago. Told me Harris looked looked bad. Angry, tense, maybe even scared. He was sitting there drinking alone, just brooding. Jim said he left it in a dark mood. No one we've spoken to mentioned anything like that. Officer Vining also informed me that you're still working to confirm his alibi. That's right, we've interviewed both Tommy and Linda, but I suggest you follow up with them. Of course, Linda's hysterical, as any mother would be. I intend to. That's it for Tommy then. You quickly gloss over your memos. A few more things I want to run by you. Pastor Ron Peters. I think I found locks of Emily's hair in his office safe. I find that troubling. How did you gain access to his safe, Detective? She shoots with a cold, reproachful stare. You wince, squinting your eyes, unprepared to defend yourself, but feeling your actions were fully justified. Tread carefully here. Peters might be eccentric, but he's well respected in town. Without more to go on, it would be a tough battle to turn anyone against him. You'd be up against people's faith in their pastor, and that goes deep. I get it. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but it's hard to ignore, especially given that respect and trust people placed in him, notably Emily. She nods, though her face is stern. If anything concrete comes up, I'll back you on it, but until then, keep it low-key. There's a fine line between suspicion and slander with someone like Peters. Make sure you have something solid before making waves. That brings me to another point he brought up. The missing statue head. Yeah, at Randy Cooper's house. What about it? Pastor Peters points the finger at Richards for that, and the broken window. Officer Wallace gives you a glance that you judge to be almost dismissive. What's the story behind that? That's an odd one. The statue's head disappeared about 3 weeks ago. We looked into that, but never really turned up anything substantial. Half the town thought Paul Richards had something to do with it. Heck, even Officer Vining is convinced. Richards the type, immature, trouble-prone, always trying to make a statement. You know the type. But we didn't have anything on him. No witnesses, no physical evidence, nothing. It was all just speculation. Do you think Richards could be responsible for Emily's murder? Officer Vining seems to think he's worth looking at. Look, Paul's a troublemaker, no doubt about it, but do I really think he's got it in him to do something like this? Sure, he's petty and dumb. A pothead, according to Jen Thompson. Yeah, well, to be honest, Detective, I don't care about that. It's 1995. Give it a few more years, and I'll bet we'll have doctors prescribing marijuana. You're taken aback by her nonchalant attitudes towards the drug. Not real doctors, and it's still illegal regardless. In any case, do I think Paul Richards murdered Emily? To be blunt, no. Everyone and their mother knows the punk is more bark than bite. Pastor Peters, painting quite a picture, says Richards possessive and vindictive. He even believes Richards held a grudge against Emily after she ended things with him. You thumb through more notes that you've written down. Then there's what Jim said. He suggested that Richards might have been stalking Emily after the breakup, said there were significant issues and that he had a hard time letting go. That sounds like more than bark to me. Granted, Detective. Her arms folded across her chest, her hand drifting up to her chin as she stares off. She taps her finger lightly against her jaw, as though weighing the options with each small motion. We'll keep an eye on him, just in case. I assume you haven't interviewed him yet either. You had an entry to interview Paul Richards on it. So then we should talk about the poor girl Emily. She appears to be growing anxious and impatient, or both. There are 1 or 2 more points I need to clarify. This Jacob Turner character, who is he? The librarian? No one special. A quiet guy but polite, seems squeaky clean. Moved here from Augusta about a year ago. Gets on well enough with everyone. Why? Ms. Green hinted that he's a bit of a mystery, though he keeps himself mostly. He seemed really close to Emily. Apparently he took her on trips to the city regularly, which seems odd for someone so reserved. I'd think twice about anything Maggie Green says too seriously, Detective. Jacob may be reserved, but that doesn't mean he's hiding anything, much less a murderer. People who keep to themselves still make friends, form relationships. You can tell she doesn't take you seriously. Is it your inexperience, your youth? You start to sense that everything she said up to this point has been soaked in condensation, I can't say the word, and you didn't even notice until now. Sure, there's an age gap between them, but just because he took her on trips doesn't scream red flags. It could be the way they're connected, and there's a lot more to do in the city than in Buckfield. Why shouldn't they go? I'm not sure there's anything there worth chasing. She twists to fix her eyes on Emily's lifeless corpse. She was brutally stabbed multiple times, her dignity robbed. Look at her, her body still so young, so full of what could have been, is something I can't shake. I've never seen anything like this before in Buckfield. Rescuing cats from trees, helping Miss Mitchell get back into her locked apartment. Those are my highlights from a typical month. We don't get this kind of violence around here. Emily, poor Emily, she was different, she was beautiful. She could see just by looking at her, not just her looks, but the way she lit up a room, how everyone knew her, how everyone liked her, that smile, so genuine, so warm. You could feel how much she cared about people just by talking to her. Officer Wallace pauses, swallowing hard as she stares at Emily's still remains. She had so much ahead of her. College, maybe travel, maybe a career, and now look at her, naked, stabbed, a life cut short before it even had a chance to start. Her voice tightens with frustration and disbelief as you feel as though only now, for the first time, Officer Wallace has allowed her emotions she's felt since arriving at the scene to come to the surface. You remain silent. What kind of person does that to someone like her? A girl who had everything going for her. A girl, fucking Christ, didn't deserve this. Someone took all of that from her. I don't know who they are. They'll pay for it. We'll make sure of that. But for now, we just have to look at this, all this waste. What a fucking tragedy. This town didn't deserve this, and neither did she. Whoever did this, they didn't take just her life. They ripped a hole through everyone who loved her. We'll find them, Laura. For her, for all of them. I think you're on the right track so far, Detective. Maybe you're not as experienced as Detective Henderson, but I think with this help, you can solve this. With his help, you can solve this. No, we can solve this. She studies you, a faint smile tugging at the corner of her lips. There's an air of cautious approval in her gaze as she's beginning to see promise in your efforts. For the first time, you feel like you're starting to earn her respect. Well, we've got evidence to collect, so I suggest we get to it. If I remember correctly... Ah, yes, it's up there. There we go. There's something here. You pick up a loose earring, a dark gemstone. It's bloodied, appearing to have been torn off in a struggle, reinforcing the evidence that she fought back fiercely. Its placement from the body suggests this altercation occurred moments before her death. Perhaps she attempted to run, unable to escape her attacker. It reaffirms the violent nature of her last moments. I think I've got all of my clues. More footprints, the same size as the others, apparently from the same person. You've already made a note of the size 10.5 footprints. Size 10.5, that's decent sized, bigger than average. If we figure out who owns boots like that, it might narrow things down. think that might be all of it. Ready to leave the crime scene? Don't know yet. Let's have another quick scout around, just in case. There's something here. It's a Chesterfield cigarette butt. If it's from Emily's murderer, the filter could carry their DNA. Chesterfield aren't common. Someone local, maybe you might want to ask about it at the general store. Okay, so I think I've got everything that I need. Let's have a quick glance here. Satchel clues. So 9 out of 33. I'm trying to make sure that there's not anything else that I've missed. Size 10 footprints. Oh, that's. Anything up here? No. I've got everything. Just have a look around here. Can't even get any of that. Ready to leave? Yeah, I think I am. Are you sure? Yes. You haven't missed any clues. Are you absolutely positively 110% certain, detective? Yep. I believe so. Don't be hasty. Give the scene another sweep before you tarnish both yours and Clive's reputations. Okay. Yes, damn it. This again. Are you really sure? Oh, I think I'm going to have a not really. But I am going to have to end this video there. So, I'm going to end it there for now. And I'm going to get back to it. So, if you like this video, please do subscribe, comment, like, share. Let me know your thoughts. I am Squishalski, and this has been RPG Maker with, and me playing a murder in Buckfield. So, let me know your thoughts. Have you played this game before? And I don't just mean RPG Maker, I mean a murder in Buckfield. But I am going to leave it there for now. So, once again, if you do like this content, please do subscribe, comment, like, share, and let me know your thoughts. And I will catch you all next time. So, until then, bye-bye for now.